Hey guys, Dr. Ryan Sousley here. Today I'm here with Dr. Joelle Bohemier. Welcome, Dr.
Great.
Joelle.
Great to be with you.
So I'm pretty pumped for this interview. Dr. Joelle has been a mentor of mine for a long time. I got the privilege and the honor of going to train in Naples, Florida, in his clinic, and just you talk about just a stud of a human being and someone who practices what they preach. You know, not only did he grow up in a family of 46 chiropractors, but he really does walk the walk and not just talk the talk. What else is cool about Dr. Joelle is, you know, you're co-founder of Stand for Health Freedom, and that's really why we're doing this whole thing. So the whole virtual 5K race, you know, there's multiple layers of why we're doing it. Number one, it's a way to come together while we're all staying apart, but more importantly, it's a way to, you know, join our voices in terms of a sorry about that, I got a phone call. In terms of, you know, health freedom, I think this is an issue that a lot of people are maybe somewhat aware of that's going on, but they're not really, you know, they're not really aware of the magnitude and the impact that it's going to have on our future and our families. So really excited to have you on today. I know today we're talking about the narrative of health freedom and who's really in control of our decision-making process. I think people think that they make their own decisions, but at the end of the day, you know, we're all being influenced by the media. We're being influenced by social media and Google. So I'm excited to hear you talk about that today.
Well, thank you for having me, Dr. Ryan, and also thank you for supporting our Stand for Health Freedom. It's greatly appreciated. It's greatly needed more than ever today. As you talk about, you know, who's controlling, you know, health decisions, more and more what we're noticing is that really it's corporations through the government. We almost have like a corporatocracy now, where because of the intense funding to politicians, that the votes are being bought, and essentially what happens is the government is now trying to serve those corporations by allowing them to kind of restrict the decision makings of parents and of oneself as it relates to health. And many people are not aware of how deep this runs. You know, in all states, in almost all 50 states now, there have been bills proposed that would force medications such as vaccinations upon people, whether they choose to or not, whether they have religious exemptions or philosophical exemptions or scientific objections or not. And so, you know, Stand for Health Freedom was born out of a need to allow, you know, the person's voice to be heard. And so we've developed this digital advocacy platform to where you could literally send your legislature, your legislative representative, whether it's a video or a note, letting them know how you feel about certain bills. And of course, we track the bills related to health freedom. Nowadays, people aren't so aware of it, but your thought process is being actually guided by social media, by Google, and by the news and by government. I think we're seeing that more and more with what happened here with this pandemic, right? So as an example, and this is really interesting, and I would love for anybody watching to go try this on Google. If you go to Google and you type in the search box, you type in vaccines cause, right? What do you think, I'll ask you, Dr. Ryan, what do you think the most common question that parents are asking about vaccines do you think would be? Like the most common search there?
Oh, it's autism, without a doubt.
Absolutely.
I get asked that in my office almost every single day.
As do I. And a lot of young families are asking the same questions because autism, of course, went from 1 to 30,000, 1 in 30,000 to today. Actually, in Ireland, they say now it's 1 in 16 boys have autism. 1 in 16. That's an epidemic, right? And so it's the most common. It's the most common searched words is vaccine cause. Now, Google has this algorithm, they say, that when you type in vaccines cause, it'll auto-populate the next words for the most common searches. That's what they say in their description of how it works. But do you know what the #1 search result that pops out when you type in vaccines cause? It's vaccines cause adults. That's what Google recommends for you to look making it seem like the average person is actually searching vaccines cause adults, when no one searches vaccine cause adults. It's
Nobody's
everybody
ever asked me that.
exactly, vaccines cause autism. And so more than you're aware, the narrative, the line of thinking, your thinking is being guided towards an acceptance of, for example, just making it normal and fair and safe for everybody to get vaccinated from birth, for the government to mandate it, whether you listen to the science or not. And the science, as of May 27th, in the Sage Open Medicine Journal, where they did the first study of over 2,000 kids where they compared vaccinated to unvaccinated children. And they found that vaccinated children had 450% more chance of developing asthma. They had over 200% greater chance of developing asthma. They had developmental delays, ear infections, and gastrointestinal problems.
Well, and allergies is a big one too.
Allergies is absolutely huge, of course. But so the idea is, even though the science shows that there are issues, the government is trying to and this is just one example. So if they can do it for vaccines, they're trying to mandate this on everybody, then they can do it for every medication that's out there.
Right.
And at some point, we have to have freedom of choice to choose what is injected into our bodies, yet they're trying to take that freedom away. And people are not aware of this. And that's why we encourage people to go to Stand for Health Freedom and let their representatives know that they stand for medical choice, they believe in medical choice, not in medical mandates, obviously.
Yeah, and I think that's the key takeaway here, and the main message is we're advocating health freedom. We're not necessarily advocating anti-vax or anti-medicine or doctors or anything like that. It's about freedom, and it's about the ability to access information, real information, and then have your voice be heard. And then whatever side of the fence you land on, I think that's your prerogative. That's your responsibility to get educated, make informed decisions. But at the end of the day, like you said, the trend is that they're taking away more and more every year in more and more states. They're taking away the ability to even access information. It's not just the fact that you have the ability to make the decision for yourself, but as Google is now showing, you can't. It's more and more difficult to even find the information.
Can I give one example on that real quick? Here, the study that I just mentioned, that's in Sage Open Medicine on vaccinated versus unvaccinated. And this is not an organization about vaccines, it's about health freedom. I'm just using the example because by far it's the most obvious one, right? So even to get the information, the research published, they went to several different journals. The journals would not even peer review it. They refused to do it. And a normal peer review process is 4 to 6 months. It took the journal 18 months to accept the research. So they don't even want to publish the research that's out there. That's how manipulated the information that people are receiving is, because they're even unwilling to produce the science or to show the science out in the public because they don't want that narrative heard. Yet we know that 54% of kids have chronic disease today. And so there's an explanation for it. And so we have to wake up, we have to stand up for our rights, to protect not just ourselves, but to protect our children, obviously.
Yeah, well, and it makes me frustrated because I have parents every day that ask me questions, and they want to get information, and anything that challenges that narrative, gets just annihilated, and it's like they got to run the gauntlet to get that information out there. Whereas if it's something that supports the narrative, like the coronavirus vaccine, for example, they're fast tracking it. They're fact tracking it. They're throwing out all these exemptions, like nobody's going to be liable if there's adverse reactions. We're not going to do any peer-reviewed medical studies on it. We're just going to get it produced. We're going to get it out to the masses, and it's going to save the planet. And yet anybody who's speaking up against that and saying, hey, wait a minute, should we do some testing? Should we do some longevity studies? Should we see how this is actually going to play out? That narrative is being suppressed. And I think that, to me, is the biggest injustice. It's the fact that people can't get the information, and then they're being, ripped or stripped of the ability to make those decisions, even based on science, whether it's a philosophical decision or a religious decision. Even the scientific one, is now being suppressed. In my mind, that's the greatest tragedy.
The cool part in all this that I've found is that still innately the mothers know. The mothers are questioning, Why are we putting so many poisons into our children? Is this necessary? And they're questioning it. And even though they're getting harassed, they're still asking the question, because I think there's something inside, there's an innate understanding that maybe they should question it, and maybe it's not the best way for their children. And the research is proving that mother's intuition is absolutely right. So listen to your gut, mothers, please.
Yeah, no, I love it. Well, hey, Dr. Joel, thanks for being on with me today. My hope and prayer is that we can continue to gain more and more awareness and traction for not just the race. The race is really just something that we can do to come together in this time where we're all kind of forced to be apart. But more than anything, I hope that people pay attention. I hope that people engage, ask questions. Listen. Share these videos. Share with the people that are in your circle of influence, and ask questions. That's the whole point. We're not claiming to, have all the right answers. We just want to protect the freedoms to go out and get those answers and get information, and then make informed decisions based from there. So if you haven't already and you want to join the race, we would love to have you. It's 4th of July. There's no better day to celebrate all of our freedoms than the 4th of July. And if you don't know already, it's just a 5K, so it's a virtual race. So if you register, it's $35. You get a T-shirt. We're working on a really sweet design right now. If you register before the 19th, you'll get the T-shirt mailed to you by the time the race happens.
Right now, Dr. Ryan, you say it's just a 5K. For some people, that's quite a feat. For you, it's a walk in the park. But let's keep it in perspective here, right?
Well, yeah, I guess you're right. We're not talking about like a marathon or anything. But anyway, it's going to be a bunch of fun. So I know here in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, we've got a bunch of people that are going to meet together and go do the run together, or the walk, whatever it is. But yeah, I would love to see over 1,000 people do the race, and all the proceeds are going to Stand for Health Freedom. So I'm really pumped about that. My hope is that we can raise a bunch of money and awareness for you guys too.
Thank you so much. If you want more information about Stand for Health Freedom, you can text 313131 and just type in "no mandates," and we'll send you a link to our current advocacy. Thank you, Dr. Ryan. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dr. Well.